talked a little bit about coming from Kentucky, specifically Princeton. Do you feel like you had a mandate to help smaller communities in Kentucky? And do you feel like all of us as Kentucky residents have that same mandate?
I think our smaller communities need more help growing. I think there's a challenge in many of our smaller communities. There's not a lot of influx of ideas and people in those communities, and so when you're looking at things like creativity and innovation, if you're not getting challenged by new things coming in or new people coming in, it makes it hard for it to kind of spontaneously generate. From my perspective personally, yeah, what gets me going is helping the smaller communities that we work in, and you know, and hopefully we are that organization and that group and the people within DataSeam that works out in the districts. We are challenging. We are people. We are bringing new ideas in as a part of the program. But yeah, I mean, working with places that look a lot like where I'm from definitely is what makes me tick.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And Tim, you talked a little bit about building a brand and what that means. We all have prominent social media presences as evidenced by the hashtag IFBG. How do we start to differentiate ourselves on social media and build our brand? And certainly, how do we start as young people becoming who we eventually want to be and someone who is marketable?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Well, from a business perspective with social media, which is what I would want to speak to, being true and honest with yourself in how you communicate and message to your audience. People and consumers can read through the fake, and so it's best to just be honest. Which means at times you may have to admit to doing something wrong, that you didn't fulfill something as a brand. But people want to have a conversation with you just like we're having now. And so being true and being honest with yourself is the best way to go with business social media, and not to try to create something that's not real.
And I think we have some questions from Twitter.
The first one's for Brian Gupton. Comes from Robert McAllister. Is there development of the grid on Windows PC workstations?
Currently, the reason why we use the Mac workstations, that's a good question, thank you, Robert, is that the Unix underpinning, not to glaze everybody over, but I'm getting ready to go into nerd speak. Robert, the Unix underpinning of the Mac operating system is very similar to what the researchers at the Brown Cancer Center are utilizing. And it's not to say that we can't run on the grid, but a lot of what we've tried to do is to leverage the existing resources and do it in a cost-effective way. And the applications that the researchers use, in addition to the grid operating system, which DataSeam built, there's an application layer that sits on top of that. And those applications, when you're running in a Windows environment, like any other Windows application, they cost. So Unix and Linux is kind of the world that we live in. Thanks for the question.
Next question's for Tim. It's from Seth Harness. What was the most difficult product or service for you to brand?
As crazy as it, sorry, as crazy as this sounds, it was a bunny slipper brand. Yeah, I know it's funny, but we all got bunny slippers out of it. The entire staff did, which is pretty cool. So to get creative and to get into the brand, we required the staff to wear the bunny slippers that day that we talked about the brand. But that was probably the most difficult because it was a unique brand and product to begin with, and reaching the target audience was not easy because of the restraints that we had from a budget standpoint. So we had to get very creative on how we could market these really cool bunny slippers. And so we went the route of heavy PR and tried to get, daytime talk shows to wear the bunny slippers on the Today Show or on other types of live broadcast type of events. We got celebrities to wear them, and so that created a buzz because we could not go traditional methods. And I still have my bunny slippers to this day. Yep. Should have worn them today.
Next question's for Brian from Allie Raymer. When do you know when it's time to give up on an idea, and what do you do next?
Thanks. Sometimes, that's a good question. For me, at least, sometimes somebody will help you along with that, and say, hey, let it go, as with many things in life. But what was the other part of that question, Tim? First part, how to let it go?
How to let it go, and then what do you move on to next?
Sure. Well, for some people, I think within the entrepreneurial process, I think some folks try it for a while, and as it relates to the what do you move on to next, I think some folks go, okay, well, maybe grad school wasn't such a bad idea after all, and I'm going to go back to school. We were kind of talking about this a little bit in the green room behind, is that sometimes it's very hard to pursue entrepreneurial pursuit when you have other responsibilities in your life, like to come home and tell your significant other, and you have a couple of kids, hey, I think I'm going to quit my day job and I'm going to go pursue this crazy idea. That doesn't work well sometimes. That conversation's a little bit difficult to have and for a lot of folks. And so, to speak from my own experience and my original idea that we did before DataSeam, while it was technology oriented, it was more along the lines of entertainment, and it actually it's a lot of what you see within your Genius recommendations for those of you that use iTunes. So we were working on something like that within the video industry several years before you saw any sort of that thing going on via Apple. But the problem was that the market was bad. This was right after kind of all the .com stuff fell out, and you're in Louisville, Kentucky, and so it's back to the barriers to entry and challenges. I don't understand, and so I think sometimes you're inspired to move on to something else that feels more right to you, but at the end of the day, it comes from inside. A lot of times it comes from inside, and sometimes with a little help from someone else. So thanks for the question.
And this will be the last question from Twitter for this session. It comes from Hunter Hawley for Tim. How do small businesses gain the brand trust of large corporations?
How do small brands, is that what the question?
Small businesses gain the brand trust of large corporations.
Of large corporations. I think as we've all kind of discussed, it comes back to the passion and the honesty approach. So if you are the small business and it's your business and it's your idea, put yourself in front of that large corporation for whatever you are trying to sell or pitch or win over. They want to see the person in front of them that created the idea, that has the passion for whatever the product or service that they're trying to sell. I'm a big believer in that, and so, although I have had other people in my company that can go out and develop new business for Workshop, not to put myself up on a pedestal, but I'm most successful And we are most successful as a company when I'm the one in front of the prospective client, because I exude that passion for what I do, and the client or the prospective consumer can see that. And so I think it's important for any small business that the owner, the idea person, the creator, the inventor, whatever, is the one that needs to be out there gaining the trust of the larger corporations that are maybe buying their product or service, or trying to create partnerships for investors or whatever the case is. Because there's nobody better than you that can tell and sell your story and your passion.